This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Tonight, 3 schools will battle it out on stage, but only one will emerge as the champion of the National Science Challenge 2017. What's going on? My name is Sonia and welcome to the National Science Challenge! Now tonight, one school is going to claim the title of champion of the National Science Challenge 2017. Who is it going to be? Now let's meet our 3 finalists. First up, we have a school with the mission of shaping future innovators who help improve society. Let's welcome the team from the School of Science and Technology. Now, throughout this entire competition, you guys must have had some tough challenges. Is there one challenge that was particularly bad for you?
For us, it was the rubber ducky vehicle challenge, as our vehicle didn't move at all. But through that challenge, we learned that things don't always go the way we want it to, and we have to adapt to keep up with the pace.
Nice job, you guys. Well, you made it this far, so great job. Good luck tonight. Now, the mission of the next school is to nurture well-rounded and world-ready scientific minds so they can make distinguished contributions. Let's give it up for the team from NUS High School of Math and Science. Now, it's been quite a journey so far, NUS High. Any best memories from this competition at all so far?
We think that this competition has been very fruitful to be able to get in contact with enriching science concepts, and we were also honored to meet up with so many science enthusiasts and many inspiring judges.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. All the best tonight. Now, up next, this is the first time that this school has made it to the grand finals of this competition, so they should be very proud. Let's welcome the team from Temasek Junior College IP. Now that's really quite an achievement. So how does it feel being the first team from your school to make it this far in the competition?
We're incredibly proud, honored and privileged to be able to be given this opportunity to represent our school.
So you feel confident tonight?
Fairly.
That's enough for me! Now, it is time to introduce the 3 people with the most difficult job tonight, the judges. First and foremost, we have Dr. Lim Sin Hong, Principal Investigator at Institute of Medical Biology of A-Star. And accompanying him is Dr. Su Yi, Deputy Department Director of Computing Science at Institute of Higher Performance Computing of A-Star. And last but not least, we got our Chief Judge, Professor Jackie Ying, who's the Executive Director of Institute of Bioengineering and Nanotechnology of A-Star. And now let's give a big round of applause for our guest of honor, Senior Minister of State for Communications and Information and Ministry of Education, Dr. Janil Puthucheary. We will kick off tonight's competition with What's Your Hunch? And in this round, the teams have to make an educated guess on the scientific rationale behind a phenomenon as posed by a celebrity. Now, before we reveal who's the celebrity, let's take a look at the rules. Round 1 rules. Explain the scientific rationale behind a phenomenon. 2 members may participate. They have 10 minutes to discuss prior to the presentation. This follows with a 1-minute presentation. They are evaluated for clarity of presentation and accuracy of scientific knowledge. They can score up to a maximum of 20 points. Now, she made her debut as an actress in the 2013 local movie 3 Peas in a Pod. And now she's a familiar face on Channel 5's longest-running drama, Tanglin. She's Jay Liu.
Hello finalists, I'm Jay Liu. Now, Jiu-Jitsu is a Japanese martial art that involves locks and throws to subdue an opponent. Now let's watch these 2 shoulder throws. One is performed moving towards the opponent, and the other is performed moving away from the opponent. my question to you is, how is a thrower able to execute the same throw by moving in the same direction or in the opposite direction of the opponent? What's your hunch?
Wow, who knew that there was science involved in jiu-jitsu? Our 3 finalist teams had 10 minutes to discuss how they would answer the question posed by Jay. Now please welcome the School of Science and Technology.
Okay, so this is the shoulder throw, where one hand's on the waist and one hand's on the shoulder, and you either push or you pull with your hand in front.
So how this works is based on the principle of moments, where it says that when a force is multiplied by a distance, they will create a moment when a force is applied around a pivot. So the formula is moment equals to Fd sine theta. So what happens is that in the first case where I'm moving forward, what I'm doing is that when I have his pivot on the waist, the force is being applied this way at the legs. So what happens is that a force is being applied here. There is a moment being created in this direction, causing the person to flip this way. And for the other direction where I move backwards, right? What I'm doing is that when I'm still holding his waist, instead of using my legs to push him, my knee can either act as a pivot to still lock his waist or still continue but my right hand will still pull him down in this direction. Okay.
Now, we've just heard the presentation by the School of Science and Technology. Now it's time for NUS High School of Math and Science to impress with their presentation.
In Japanese martial arts, we are able to cause a person to fall forward when we push the opponent forward and when we pull the opponent in the direction of the opponent. So how does this happen? Firstly, let's contextualize when a person falls down. Every person has a center of gravity or CG in the middle of his or her body. Thus, when we move the center of gravity forward, the person will thus fall forward. The way that the person will fall also depends on the direction and magnitude that the force is exerted.
You notice that in both of the ways of moving forward and backward, there are 2 main actions. Firstly, the pulling of the shoulders forward. This causes the center of gravity to displace forward and thus causing him to have a neck torque experience in this direction, causing him to fall forward. And the second is the turning of his shoulder, which causes a neck torque in this direction and hence causing him to turn in a specific manner.
So thus, when they pull the shoulders, when they pull both arms, we can see the first effect. However, the turning of the shoulders will occur when we move in the opposite direction of the opponent, and thus this happens.
Thank you very much, NUS High School of Math and Science. Finally, the presentation from Temasek Junior College IP.
Oh no, I need to learn a new self-defense. What martial art should I learn?
I think you should learn jiu-jitsu. In jiu-jitsu, there are 2 basic shoulder throws which you must master. So for the first one, you are throwing the opponent in the opposite direction of where you're running. Whereas in the second one, you're throwing the opponent in the same direction in which you're running.
So how does that work?
So for the first one, as you run towards your opponent, you can view your opponent as a plank. Using your hand and your leg, you're able to apply a force on the lower body of your opponent. Whereas using your hand, you're able to pull the upper body of your opponent. This creates 2 forces in the opposite direction, which lines of action do not coincide. This creates a torque/moment, and that combined together with using your shoulder as a pivot and using your weight as an additional force allows you to easily topple your opponent and throw him over your shoulder.
As for the second throw, me moving in this direction allows me to transfer momentum onto his body and making his CG shift and him become unbalanced. By using my own CG as a moment and my shoulder as a pivot, as well as turning my body very quickly and stopping, I'm able to generate a very large moment and throw him.
Thank you.
Now that all 3 teams are done with their presentation, let's get Jay to reveal the science behind jiu-jitsu.
When moving away from the opponent, the thrower exerts backward pressure on the ground, which, by Newton's 3rd law, exerts equal and opposite force on the thrower, which then moves the center of mass of the entire system forward. In the second throw moving towards the opponent, the thrower doesn't push against the ground, but instead pulls the opponent in the opposite direction. As there is no overall external force, the center of mass remains stationary by Newton's 1st law. The thrower again uses this motion to unbalance his opponent and throw him.
Now that Jay has given us the correct answer, it's time for the judges to assess the performance of the three teams. So Dr. Lim, what do you think of TJC's performance today?
Yeah, so first of all, I think they gave a very relatable, dialogue-based and literally moving presentation where they explained the concept of how martial arts really is about overcoming physical disadvantage by conferring mechanical advantage. And I think they did so in a very, very coherent and logical fashion by explaining how using various body parts as pivots to change the leverage of the system. So in that way, I think they explained the concept of how balances are thrown in the jiu-jitsu fashion very, very well.
Wow, not too bad. Comments, fabulous. All right, so let's shoot on over to Dr. Su. What do you think of School of Science and Technology's performance today?
First off, I think that the use of equation in a 1-minute presentation probably is not a really good way to try to communicate a concept. So I would like the team to think about how else could you illustrate the concept of moment? Because I think that moment is one of the key concepts that they're trying to convey to the audience. I think this concept did not come forth very strongly. Yeah, and if it could be highlighted or it could be elucidated in that way, I think that will make the presentation much, much clearer.
Now let's just quickly check in on Professor Jackie. What are your thoughts on NUS High School of Math and Science here today?
I thought that NUS High did a very nice presentation that really illustrate their understanding of momentum as well as torque. Okay, so this will explain very clearly. It will really help if they really make use of the figuring to do the illustration or practice it on each other to further illustrate the two different movements. In particular, it will be really important to explain the differences between the thrower moving away from the opponent versus moving towards the opponent. So I think that needs further elaboration. And then lastly, I think it would be very good if they have described the differences in the two cases, how the Newton's first law or third law is applicable in the two different cases.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. Judges, round of applause. Teams, hopefully you found those comments useful, all right? Now we are going to find out the scores to see which team is in the lead. Now we're going to find out after the break. Welcome back. You are watching the grand finals of the National Science Challenge 2017. Now, earlier on, the three teams gave their best in the first round of What's Your Hunch? Now, let's see how they fared. Congratulations to NUS High School and TJC. Both tied. School of Science and Tech at 11 points, but not too far away. Don't you worry. You still got many rounds to catch up, okay? We'll now move on to round 2 of the competition, the on-site challenge. But first, let's have a look at the rules.
Round 2 rules. Teams have to conduct an experiment related to the expertise of the hosting agency. They have 3 hours to conduct research and discuss. Teams will be graded by 3 judges, including 1 from the hosting agency. They have 5 minutes for their presentation. They will be evaluated for technical competence and presentation skills. There's a maximum of 20 points to be scored.
For the on-site challenge, teams visited the Institute of High Performance Computing, or IHPC for short. What kind of challenge was in store for our 3 finalists at IHPC? Let's find out.
For their final on-site challenge, our teams gathered at the Institute of High Performance Computing, or IHPC, which is an internationally recognized organization that specializes in computer modeling and simulations. Here, scientists use supercomputers together with complex software tools to make new discoveries in science and engineering.
We do lots of different kinds of simulations, everything from materials, soft materials, to complex systems, to just look at algorithms to make computing itself more efficient.
They run these complex simulations on Singapore's top supercomputer, Aspire 1.
Before taking on their challenge, our finalists were granted a rare look at this incredibly powerful computing facility, which is not open to the public. The challenge given to our grand finalists was not a simple one. They were asked to run a computer simulation of a ferroelectric material and were given 3 hours to perform this task and gather their findings.
We are trying to run a simulation program on the computer, so we just input values, try to plot a graph so we can find out the properties of the material.
I think it's quite difficult for us because it's not necessarily something that we are very exposed to, but I think with the materials that they provided to us, we are going to be able to do it.
It's quite interesting, but it's very difficult. So it's trying to figure out what we are doing.
What they're working with are tools that were actually used in publications. So this on-site challenge is very similar to what scientists would do on a regular basis. The things that they're working on right now, the thoughts that they're having, very closely mirror what I would expect a scientist to have.
Having an electric charge in the opposite direction, in which case it will reverse like this.
So we are analysing 4 different cases. It's without charge, with and without switch, and also whether in the presence of charge, with and without switch.
So we are actually looking at the performance of the programs the students are running. We can see what programs do they run and for how long they've been running these programs. And at the same time we can see the performance of the program, when did they finish, when did they start the program, and we can estimate approximately how far they are.
I'm very impressed that all 3 teams were able to condense a huge amount of research information, compile it into something which is short, concise, and still conveys essential messages.
I think the team that did the best was TJC. They were having many interesting questions. They could judge the results very well, and the interpretation of the results was very well as well.
One thing that NUS High did that the 2 other teams did not was that NUS High went over and beyond our stated requirements, and they looked at the effect of changing the number of electric field cycles, so the number of times that the electric field switches during the computational period, and I'm impressed.
Using supercomputers to process huge amounts of data to create visualizations will be increasingly essential to make scientific discoveries and new technologies. Our grand finalists left IHPC inspired to consider a career path in the field in the future. So the question is, how did each team fare in this round? Let's take a look at their scores. NUS High and TJC tied at 15 points. School of Science and Tech not far behind at all at 14 points. That's a very, very tight fight. Now, after combining the scores from round 1 and 2, let's have a look at the combined scores. Tied in first place, NUS High and TJCIP with 31 points. Not too far behind, School of Science and Tech with 25 points. Congratulations so far. A very, very tough fight. But don't worry, there's still time to catch up. 2 more rounds to go in tonight's grand finals. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the grand finals of the National Science Challenge 2017. Now, we've reached the halfway mark of tonight's competition with 2 rounds down. Let's take a look at round 3 rules.
Round 3 rules. Teams are given half an hour to complete 2 challenges on site. They have 90 minutes to discuss and work on their presentations with a celebrity guest. They have a maximum of 4 minutes for their presentation. Up to 4 students can participate, but must include the celebrity guest. They will be evaluated for organization, clarity, creativity, audience engagement, scientific accuracy, and relevance to society. There's a maximum of 20 points to be scored.
For the next challenge, our teams had to discover the science behind the art of coffee brewing, but they also had the pleasure of meeting some unexpected new additions to their teams.
To prepare for their studio demonstration challenge, our teams headed down to Better Barista Coffee Academy to learn how to master coffee and milk chemistry. Better Barista not only excels in coffee education, the company is also known as a force for good, helping those in need to become professional baristas. First, our teams were taught by a coffee professional how to use a French press and were set on their first task, which was extract the most amount of solubles from a fixed amount of coffee. After the teams were scored on their coffee extraction, they were given a second task, which involved learning how to make an ideal milk and foam mixture to add to coffee.
All the way.
Once more, the teams were scored and then told their final task, which was to plan their studio demonstrations on what they learned on the day. But then they were hit with a surprise twist. Each team would be given a mystery fifth member.
Alright, TJC, your 50 member is none other than 97 DJ Kimberly Wang. And yes, hi, are you ready? Your 50 member is another 97 DJ Joaquim Gomez. Hello, 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 hello. Okay. Oh, please, let me know. SST, I hear that there's a Tanglin fan amongst you, while your 50 member is from Tanglin, Eswari.
The teams were given only 1 hour to brainstorm and plan with their celebrities, who helped them with their science communication strategies.
I guess he's very creative, so it's an honor to work with him.
It's nice to have an approval from a budding young scientist like her and these guys. I really hope to add to their showmanship for presentation. I think to save their presentation, I should just keep my mouth shut.
Cause I think we will stutter when we present.
Okay.
Maybe someone more experienced in the field.
I did quite well in science back in secondary school, but that was years ago, so let's not talk about it. But whatever it is, we're gonna do this, okay?
Don't! Cannot see our presentation, go away! Go away! I can tell you where to find really good coffee, does that help?
I think she understands our team very well. We have similar attitude when approaching this kind of stuff.
We're not very sure we can win, but we'll try our best.
Now, let's join the teams with their celebrities on stage for their studio demonstrations.
What can our celebrity guests offer to their respective teams? Can they add pizzazz to the presentations? Now I have with me Ashwari and your team from School of Science and Technology. So how do you feel that you've added on to this team?
Okay, to be very honest, they've helped me a lot actually. I've understood way better about what's happening. So yeah, I don't think I'm much of a help, but hopefully I am, guys, right?
Okay, so I'm going to ask the team, you can be perfectly honest. How much of a help was she?
Actually a lot, because she knows very well how to engage with the audience. So it's a lot of valuable insight.
All the best, you guys. I'm going to leave you to get down to your presentation right now.
Thank you. I don't seem to get the kick in the coffee. How am I going to survive in school all day?
That's a great question, and you're in luck because I'm a coffee expert.
Uh-huh.
A higher temperature will increase the amount of coffee that's being dissolved. A good temperature to dissolve the coffee at is 96 degrees Celsius. As you can see, there are two objects of the same size. These small cubes will have a more surface area in contact with the surrounding water, and hence will dissolve faster than the one with no cuts.
Okay.
So we have done an experiment. There are some peaks in our graph which also show that the different things in coffee dissolve at different times. The substance in which you dissolve the coffee in also affects it. So for example, a good chemical is called aniline, and it will dissolve a lot of the coffee. However, it's poisonous chemical. Substances in the water will also change the taste of the coffee.
Wait, so you're telling me that I'm drinking dirty water?
There are two types of water, hard water and soft water. Hard water has minerals such as calcium and magnesium inside the water, while soft water has few to none. The calcium and magnesium actually help the coffee taste stronger and better.
So let me just try my coffee now.
It's still bitter. What am I gonna do now?
Just close your eyes and you'll know more.
Okay.
You can open your eyes now. I'm the milkman.
Hi.
Adding milk to a coffee can help it in 3 different ways. It will improve the taste, it will improve the foam, and it will help with the mouthfeel being how it feels in your mouth. Your issue, bitterness, that is due to the presence of this acid. Milk being a base will neutralize, in other words, cancel out this acid, reducing the bitterness. Milk will also help the coffee taste sweeter. It's all down to carbohydrates. The sugar that is present in milk is called lactose, and when heated up to 60 degrees Celsius, it will break down into galactose and glucose. Both of these are very sweet sugars, meaning that your coffee will be sweeter. Milk is also used to make the foam that's not just used for decorating, but also improves mouthfeel. And it's all made possible by the proteins casein in milk. So when hot air bubbles are passed through the milk, the proteins are partially hydrophobic, meaning that the hydrophobic part, the part that hates water, will stick with the air bubble, whereas the hydrophilic part, the part that likes water, will stick to the water in the milk, creating a case around the bubbles, creating the foam that you know. The foam has many air bubbles, meaning that it will taste very velvety and smooth. I'm sure all of you drink coffee in school or at work to stay awake. It's such an important beverage, but we know so little. However, now I'm sure that you all know how to make coffee just the best way.
Thank you, School of Science and Technology and Ashwari for that presentation. Now, it's time for our second team with their celebrity guest, who also happens to be my real-life on-air partner. So, Joachim, you know, aside from us having chemistry, which is good, that's the only kind of science that we know.
Yes.
How was this whole experience with your team?
The only way to save the presentation right now, I don't speak at all. But that said, they actually gave me 5 lines, so I have one job to do.
Yes, I'm going to speak to your team. You can be perfectly honest. How helpful was Joachim on a scale of 1 to 10?
10.
10. Wow, not bad, not bad.
They're just being very modest and very nice people.
I'm pretty sure they are. But thank you very much. Jokes aside, if you guys are ready, get down to your presentation now.
Another cup of coffee for yet another long night here at National Science Challenge. But like most Singaporeans, we actually enjoy our coffee, but how is it made?
Hey bro, eat this.
Eat what?
Just eat it.
Okay. Why am I shrinking? What's happening to me? Where am I going? Why am I in a cup of coffee?
Welcome to the molecular world of coffee.
Guys, not funny. Get me out of this cup of coffee.
Let me help you by making a cup of strong coffee. Firstly, we need a high temperature to make sure that more molecules can collide with sufficient kinetic energy, increasing the rate of extraction.
A smaller grind size will also greatly increase the total surface area for effective collisions to take place, thereby increasing the rate of extraction. Lastly, in water, salts dissociate into positive cations and negative anions. Positive cations can dissolve the negatively charged compounds in coffee, while negative anions such as carbonate or bicarbonate ions can maintain the pH level of coffee by acting as a buffer.
Together, these factors can give you your strong coffee.
The next thing we add would be water.
That's right. There are a few main compounds in coffee, which are caffeine, sugarnaline, caffeic acid, and quinic acid. These are organic acids with a low pKa, implying a high acidic strength. They dissolve in water to form a low pH, and this will denature proteins and cause coffee to taste sour.
These compounds are alkaloids. They can influence the structure of proteins, and they cause coffee to taste bitter.
Coffee is never complete without milk. Milk is an emulsified colloid of butterfats and also contain other molecules such as proteins and sugar. And these biomolecules come together to influence the taste, the mouthfeel, and the foam of the coffee.
First up is taste, which is affected by lactose and butterfat. Lactose causes the milk to taste sweet due to the interaction of OH groups with the taste receptors.
Secondly, mouthfeel is the physical sensation a food creates in the mouth, which is mainly influenced by fats. Fats can give a smooth and creamy texture in the mouth, and when in contact with fats, certain carrier proteins can also increase palatability. Of course, fats also promote your lateral growth.
What do you mean, are you calling me fat?
Yes!
Why?
Milk contains around 80% casein and 20% whey proteins. The casein forms micelles, and when these micelles are disrupted through steaming, they form the foam.
The hydrophilic regions points towards the aqueous environment, while the hydrophobic ends points inwards. This stabilizes the air bubbles and prevents it from bursting.
Alright guys, this is all very interesting, but can you please let me out of this cup now? I think I might drown.
Don't worry, with all that fat you've taken with your coffee, I'm sure you'll float.
Stop calling me fat!
Thank you.
Thank you very much, NUS High School of Math and Science and Joachim for that presentation. Now for our final team with their celebrity guest. She's also a colleague of mine, but Kim, we're not scientists.
Oh no,
at
definitely
all.
not.
So how do you think that you've added value to your team then?
I think the value came from helping them out with our presentation skills. But apart from that, I didn't do anything else, so I'm very confident that they will do very well.
Did you find Kimberly's presence useful?
Yes, definitely.
For sure, they're very well trained. All right, if you guys are ready, you have some time to prepare and you can start.
Hello, welcome to our cafe. This is our special range of coffee.
Can I just have a cappuccino, please? Thanks.
Sure, will that be all?
I like my coffee with a strong floral aroma and it has to be acidic, please.
Sure, miss. Why don't you take a sip while I'll make your coffee? Oh no, she's so picky. That sounds so complicated. How will I make this?
Fret not. We are here to help you. I am the milkman. I'm the coffee bean.
And I am the professor.
I know for a start that when brewing coffee, tap water is not used as the presence of minerals like chloride ions will alter the taste of the coffee. So, should distilled water be used?
Not exactly. Certain ions such as magnesium or calcium ions enable more acids to be extracted from the coffee grind.
Oh, I know! That's why there's the reverse osmosis method, whereby the use of a remineralization filter can enable us to obtain the desired ions.
That's right! Hey, you've been pretty quiet. Why don't you tell her a bit more, Coffee Bean?
Okay, to make a good cup of coffee, my grind size is usually regarded as one of the most important factors in the extraction of coffee. For finer grind sizes, the surface area to volume ratio is larger compared to coarse grind sizes, hence more solutes can be extracted. Furthermore, for fine grind size, there's less space between the coffee powder, increasing its resistance to water. Hence, the water will take a longer time to flow through, furthermore increasing the extraction of solutes.
I know the temperature of the water is also very important. A higher temperature increases the solubility of solutes present in the coffee bean, enabling them to dissolve faster. However, too high of a temperature will result in the flavor compounds being destroyed, which gives rise to the different aromas. At the optimal temperature, which is between 92 to 96 degrees Celsius, these flavor compounds will be preserved, yet a large amount of coffee will be extracted.
In addition, the different solutes in me have different solubilities and therefore dissolve at different rates. The acids are the most soluble, followed by the salts and the sugars, while the dry distillates dissolve at a constant rate. Therefore, if too long extraction time, there will be too much unwanted dry distillates, giving the coffee an extremely smoky and bitter taste, which will overpower the other flavors in the coffee. However, too short an extraction time would mean that the coffee will lack any substantial or complex taste, as only the acids and a bit of salts have been dissolved.
In coffee, there are a variety of different acids, the top 10 most common of which are listed here on this chart. Different acids have different pKa values, which basically stands for the acid dissociation constant, which is an indicator of the acid strength. Probably the most famous compound found in coffee would be caffeine, which is actually a base with a pKa of 14 and tastes bitter.
What about milk?
Of course, milk is an important component. During steaming at 65 degrees Celsius, air bubbles are introduced into the milk protein called caseins. Like this, the caseins, due to their amphipathic nature, will align themselves around the air bubble to form spherical and as well extremely small micelles. Therefore, well-formed coffee will not have any large or visible air bubbles. Also, in comparison to Kopi C, which has unfoamed milk, this foam milk found in cafe coffee has a creamier and also foamier mouthfeel.
Wow, thanks so much guys. Now I know how to make the perfect cappuccino for her. Here you go.
Thank you very much, Temasek JCIP, for those presentations. And before we actually head over to the scores, I want to check in with the judges. How do you guys feel about all the presentations so far in the grand finals?
Well, I thought you did great. I'll speak specifically to School of Science and Technology. I think you guys did a really admirable job of trying to distill the essence of how to make a really good cup of coffee, just the way we tried to distill the essence of our research work from 4 to 5 years in 4 to 5 minutes. I think the most important part of giving a good presentation is really being very, very clear and contextualizing the problem as well as the issues you're about to address. So you have to be careful about not coming off, reeling off facts, and really tying them to the most important themes that you want to speak about. In terms of visuals as well, very, very impressive visuals, very professionally done, but you have to be careful about choosing exactly what visuals you want to include in your presentation, not include nice posters that you don't actually use when you're giving your talk as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lim. Now, Dr. Su, your thoughts?
So I will comment on NUS High. So once again, the team did very well. There are 3 comments that I would like to make to the team. First, you have a very creative way of staging that whole presentation, and you added an important factor which the other two teams did not have, which is a comic relief. You used Joachim in a very effective way. So I scored you, in fact, full marks for creativity. So very well done there. My second comment is on the technical aspect. You guys really scienced the daylight out of coffee making. And I'm really impressed by that. I have no idea that micelle formation is related to foaming and things like that. And that is really something impressive. And perhaps a takeaway, which is my last point, is that in all such presentation, it is very important to have a takeaway, meaning that what is actionable. If you were to communicate to the audience, can we take away perhaps 2 or 3 important messages about coffee making? I think if you can weave that into your whole storyline, that would be a perfect presentation. And of course, you can still end by poking joke at Joachim.
We got it. Thank you very much, Dr. Su. Now, Professor Jackie, your thoughts on Temasek JC?
Yes, I thought Temasek JC did a particularly good job in very clearly explaining how one will extract the coffee in making the brew. In particular, you describe very well how magnesium and calcium cations work, and you also use graphics very effectively. For example, there's a graph showing how acids, etc., can get extracted out over time. You also explain very well pKa of acids. The only thing I thought you could maybe elaborate a bit more on would be how the foaming works with micelles using the proteins, for example, from the milk.
Thank you very much for your comments, judges. Thank you. Well done, schools. Oh my goodness, what an intense round. Now, of course, the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's have a look at round 3 scores. In first place, NUS High School with 16 points. TJC IP with 14 points and School of Science and Tech with 13 points. Now, of course, after 3 very intense rounds, we need to look at the combined scores. NUS High at 47, close behind Temasek Junior College IP with 45, and School of Science and Tech at 38. Well, just when you thought it was over, it's not. We still have one more very crucial round, and that is rapid response. We'll come back after the break. Welcome back to the grand finals of the National Science Challenge 2017. Now, tonight has been a real eye-opener. All our teams have stepped it up, and you can see that they really want this title. But before we move on to the final round, rapid response, let's take a look at the rules. Round 4 rules. Teams must answer a total of 15 questions. They have 10 seconds to key in their answers. 2 points are awarded for each correct answer. No points will be deducted for not answering or answering incorrectly. They have a maximum of 30 points to score. Teams, are you ready?
Yes.
Here we go, round 4, rapid response. First question, what is the chemical decomposition of organic compounds using heat in the absence of oxygen? 9 characters to your answer, and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is pyrolysis. No one scoring points in this round. Second question. Oryza sativa is a type of grass. It is also commonly known as what? 4 characters to your answer, and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is rice. Next question. In linear algebra, the cardinality of a basis of a vector space over its base field is known as the what of the vector space? 9 characters to your answer, and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is dimension. Next question. In a plane, an object accelerates but does not change speed if it is moving in uniform what motion? 8 characters to your answer and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is circular. Everyone's scoring points. Next question. What technology is essential to solving the double spending problem in cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin, without requiring a central authority? 10 characters to your answer and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is blockchain. Nice job. Next question. This element is used to make atomic clocks that serve as the primary standard for the definition of the SI unit second. Give the chemical symbol of this element. 2 characters to your answer and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is CS. Great job. Next question. The what shale is famous for its fossils of extraordinary organisms, such as the 5-eyed Opabidia? 7 characters to your answer and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is Burgess. No one scoring points here. Next question. In group theory, how many groups of order 8 are there up to isomorphism? 1 character to your answer and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is 5. Next question. A mixture of 2 liquids that maintains a constant composition and boiling point during distillation is known as a what? 9 characters to your answer and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is azeotrope. Next question. The fastest advancing solar cell technology to date is based on the hybrid what solar cells as the absorber layer, achieving energy conversion efficiencies of over 22% within 7 years. 10 characters to your answer and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is perovskite. No one scoring points in this round. Next question. The quantum what laser is a semiconductor laser that emits mid to far infrared radiation using a periodic stack of thin material layers. 7 characters to your answer and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is cascade. No one scoring points here. Next round. If a shop sells mooncakes only in boxes of 6, 9, or 20, what is the largest number for which it is impossible to buy exactly that number of mooncakes from the shop? 2 characters to your answer, and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is 43. Next question. The first vertebrate to be cloned by somatic cell nuclear transfer was a what? 4 characters to your answer, and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is frog. No one scoring points here. Next question. Anti-what filters, also known as optical low-pass filters, can be found in digital cameras to reduce distortion from very fine repeating patterns. 8 characters to your answer, and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is aliasing. Next question. The luminescent property of the glow-in-the-dark path in Singapore's rail corridor is due to the chemical compound what illuminate? 9 characters to your answer, and your time starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is strontium. No one scoring points in this round. And that was your final question. Let's have a look at the scores. All schools are tied at 6 points. Now let's have a look at the total combined scores. This means your new champions, NUS High School. Alrighty guys, now I'd like to invite our guest of honor, Senior Minister of State for Communications and Information and Ministry of Education, Dr. Janil Puthucheary. And joining him are Professor Ng Hak Hui, Executive Director, A-Star Graduate Academy, and Associate Professor Lim Tint Meng, Chief Executive, Science Centre, Singapore. And the second runner-up is School of Science and Technology. Big round of applause, you guys. Job well done. Fantastic job, you guys. Give them a big round of applause. What a journey it has been. And the first runner-up goes to Temasek Junior College IP. Fantastic job. This was the first time they made it this far. Truly an achievement. Big round of applause for your schoolmates, yeah? And of course, the National Science Challenge 2017 champion is NUS High School of Math and Science. Congratulations, you lot. Keep it going, keep it going. Let's invite our 3 celebrity guests, Joachim Gomez, Kimberly Wang, and Eshwari, back on stage. Give them a big round of applause. Congratulations to all 3 teams here today. You guys were amazing. Can we have one more gigantic round of applause? My name is Sonia Chu. Until we meet again for National Science Challenge 2018, it's been science.